this is a very long fireside chat, but if you could give us a Cole's notes of kind of what your philosophy is and how that works and some of the work that you've done to try to validate that.
Yeah. So let me share a story to do that. So it was a cold January morning, as cold as it ever can be in Phoenix, Arizona. It was 2009 to be specific, and I had roughly 12 skill players going into the NFL Combine in front of me, and we were prepping for a speed session, right, working on their 10-yard and 20-yard speed. And this was my first year running the NFL Combine prep program, and I'm on the sideline walking them through marching and skipping and all these various patterns. And I am keeping military time. I'm deploying instructions and cues and feedback with what I called surgical precision. My interns are getting carpal tunnel, writing down everything I'm saying a mile a minute, and I'm controlling the entire scenario. Carl, I'm an elite strength coach in that moment. But then all of a sudden, and I say this because this was really the experience, I kind of had an out-of-body moment where I'm like, hold on. I've got 12 individuals out there, all moving simultaneously. And I'm yelling all sorts of different cues: stand tall, chest up, push the ground away. That's good. That's not good enough. All the while, they're still moving. And I realized, well, hold on. How do I know what's getting in? How do I know what they're focusing on? How do I know they even heard me? I'm not checking for learning. I'm not checking for understanding. I'm not following up to see if that cue or that instruction I just yelled out made a difference. And all the while, I just said 10 things in the last 30 seconds. I know firsthand it's not even possible they digested that, and whether they digested anything. And I remember getting done with that session. Anxiety is high. And I realized that there had been one thing, of all the things that I had been working on as a coach, one thing that I had missed in all of my textbooks, in all of my development. You know what that was, Carl? It was a freaking mirror. I had never looked at myself as an actual variable that can either influence or interfere with the training process. I hadn't looked at what I said, when I said it, how I said it, the way I interacted with each individual to make sure they understood it, held on to it, and applied it. All the while, I was aware as anyone that there's paralysis by analysis, that what we think absolutely influences how we move. Looking at things like choking under high pressure, difference between training and games. So all of the evidence of a coach having an influence was there, yet I behaved in such a way as if I had never given that any thought, because I hadn't. And as I started to walk and talk to other coaches, I'm like, hey, how do you develop yourself as a coach? They're like, oh, you mean my program design? I'm like, no. How do you develop yourself as in actually coaching? Oh, well, that's just an art. You just got to figure that out. And to be honest with you, Carl, that wasn't good enough for me. And so I've spent the better part of 15 years, and I'm not going to give you my philosophy as much, but my area of focus. 15 years looking very simply at the intersection between what a coach says and how that impacts the way an athlete learns to move. And by learning to move, that means how they learn to move in the moment, how they perform, how they learn to move long term, hold on to it, showing up in performance, how that learning makes them feel from an experience and a motivation perspective. Because at the end of the day, like it or not, we use language to get something out of our head into their head and ultimately expressed through their body. And we know when we do it right, and we know when we do it wrong, but we don't always know why. And so for me, it's about going from chance to choice and elevating how one coaches, ultimately to influence the way the athlete can own the change, own the progress, and perform when it counts.